Welcome back to the Spotlight. As promised, we have Kathy Kulishevsky from the Freep Film Festival here. Thank you for joining us. And
Sure.
I know you have a busy schedule, so we appreciate you coming out.
Glad to be here.
Now, tell me, first of all, I want to congratulate you on a great career that you've had. You've won many awards, and you're a very established journalist. And I just wanted to congratulate you on all your accolades. Impressive resume, Emmys, and all kinds of great awards.
Yeah, a lot of fingerprints on those Emmys, though. It's not just me. There's a lot of people behind all of that. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And so let's get right into the film festival.
Okay.
Why did Freep feel the need for a film festival in this area?
Well, it was a moment in time when this idea came to fruition, when there was Detropia and Searching for Sugar Man and Burn and a bunch of other, and it was the film tax credit thing was still kind of red hot, but there was all this attention and focus on Detroit. And we at the Free Press are doing our own documentaries, and we're like, okay, well, we're telling these stories, there are other people telling these stories, but there's no place to see them collectively. And so at one point we were going to do a screening with Detropia, and the entertainment editor, Steve Byrne, who is now the executive director of the festival, said, you know what we should do? We should have a film festival. We could get 10, 12 films, a couple of venues, and screen them. And I mean, I know it sounds like it just came out of the blue, but that was literally, it was very organic kind of idea that sprouted from him, and then the two of us just kind of took off with it, and there's so much attention and focus on Detroit and getting those films out in front of people. And then as a newspaper, our job is to inform people and spur discussion and engagement and dialogue about things that affect Detroit, Metro Detroit, and the state of Michigan. So we thought, okay, what a natural connection. So documentaries are a natural extension of journalism, and having them all together and then being able to bring the community together to talk about them was something we felt like as a newspaper was not necessarily something we should be doing, but it just felt like now, in the time of new media and online journalism and all of those things, a natural extension of what we do.
Absolutely, and you're the artistic director for the film festival. What exactly does that mean? What is your job for the Freep Film Festival?
Well, a big part of my job is looking at films, screening films and being in contact with filmmakers. And there's a lot of stuff out there that we knew about when we started this idea, but there was stuff that bubbled up that we didn't know about. And so as the artistic director, I'm kind of curating and watching and then showing everybody, say, oh, here, you should see this, or here, you should see this, or we're not going to watch that, or whatever it might be. Putting the schedule together, working with our engagement editor who's putting together a lot of our panel discussions that will be following a lot of the films.
Very cool.
Who's going to fit, what's the best fit for that, what's the topic we want to talk about. So those are the types of things that I'm doing to kind of get that festival off the ground.
Now, a lot of the documentaries, it's basically all documentaries, correct?
Yes, it is.
And all Michigan-based documentaries.
Yes, I mean, our goal is to have things that are either Michigan-based, Michigan-made, or have a topic or an issue that is near and dear to Michigan people's hearts. I mean, it won't necessarily be in year 2 and 5 and 10.
Right.
There may be an issue that's dealing with water conservation that is obviously very relevant to the state of Michigan. It might be globalization and manufacturing, going overseas. We would bring that in and talk about how that impacts Michigan, or how that has impacted Michigan and our jobs. And so in this first year, most of them are very Detroit or Michigan centric. And we are negotiating right now to get one fiction film, but that was Detroit shot, is Detroit focused. I'm not going to name it because we don't have it yet. But our goal is to, with the industry of filmmaking that is, Superman and Batman are being shot here.
And the city of Warren has had films coming in and out of our city as well, using the tech center and things of that nature. So we've definitely seen a rise in film in Warren and around the entire Southeast Michigan.
Right. I mean, we're not going to bring, say, Transformers in. We know they shot here, but it was supposed to be in Chicago. If Detroit is an obvious, almost character
Okay.
that would be something that we would look at. I mean, you think back to Out of Sight with George Clooney, that was the Elmore Leonard, or Beverly Hills Cop, just,
Right,
things like
exactly.
that had Detroit as almost a character in it. We would want to bring those in just for the fun of it.
Right. Very cool. Now, you briefly mentioned, some of the, I guess, the post-movie Q&A kind of sessions. So the filmmakers themselves will hopefully be in attendance, and there's actually room for Q&A with them?
Yep. I mean, we've planned that. I mean, we've really given a nice block of time to screen the film and then have a discussion. Either, a lot of the filmmakers are coming in, but then there are issues that their films are addressing. One of the film that we first announced is called Project Ice. It's a look at the Great Lakes and how ice has formed the Great Lakes and still continues to affect us as a region.
Of course.
And so that filmmaker is coming in, and we're getting some climate people coming in. We're getting some specialists in the science community that understand the Great Lakes and how the water and the ice and all of those things are changing, to talk about those things
Very
and how
cool.
that impacts us. I mean, you think about business, you think about tourism, all of those things are affected by the quality and quantity of ice that we get every winter.
Very cool. Now, I don't know if it's the official launch or the unofficial launch, was a couple months back with the Michigan Beer Festival.
Yep.
The folks from Rhino Media, we had Kevin and the gang on right here on the Spotlight not too long ago, and we were so happy to see that be such a success for
Right.
them. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, the launch of the film festival and how that first event happened.
Well, we wanted something to let people know that we existed. And at that same time was when the Michigan Beer Film was starting to make its rounds.
Right.
And it just felt like a natural connection between us and them. Our partners, we have two theater partners. It's the Detroit Film Theater at the DIA,
Okay.
and then Fillmore Detroit. And obviously, the Fillmore Detroit is a concert venue, but they
Right.
used to be a movie house back in the 20s and 30s. And they have the ability to have a little bit more of a loose party.
Okay.
And so you can drink beer and you
Right.
can watch a movie where there's not many places that you can have that kind of
Right, exactly.
fun watching a movie. So it was a really natural fit for us to have a beer movie at the Fillmore where you could, fill up your glass of Kunin's or Founders or
Right.
Bell's and then just, watch a movie about them. So
Very cool. Now, I guess, what is the future of this film festival? You briefly mentioned, you might stray away from some of the Michigan films or documentaries. I mean, are we talking cans here in about 10 years, or what are we talking about
I don't know
here?
if we're talking cans. I mean, we would probably like to equate ourselves with more like the Traverse City Film Festival, which is a really great community-based festival. Obviously, Traverse City is a different town than
Right.
Detroit. The dynamic is different. But we want to bring something here that's lasting, that is positive and impacts the city. I mean, we know there's all this negative stuff. We want to be part of the positive change. One component that I think is kind of taking us beyond the film but trying to bring the community in is we're having a theater tour with Preservation Detroit. They do it every August anyway, and they go to the Gem and Orchestra Hall and the Fox and the Fillmore. We've asked them to do it in the winter. And so we will do the Fillmore and a couple of the theaters, and we're extending it up to the DFT, which they don't typically go.
Okay.
And so that's a way to bring the community in a different way, as well as, highlight all these great venues and architecture that, are really special to downtown Detroit and make it a unique place to kind of go see film or see theater or see any kind of performing arts. So our goal down the line, we always equate it to the Free Press Marathon.
Okay.
It started, a couple of decades ago in Neil Shine's garage, and 1,000 people ran the first marathon. It sells out every year now. 26,000
cool.
people come down to downtown Detroit and run that marathon. We hope in year 5 and 10 and 30 that we are a festival that is a destination festival that people want to come
Absolutely.
to, and that we are going to be always celebrating things that make Michigan special.
Very cool. Now, we've had plenty of producers and filmmakers on our show as well. If they had a documentary that they wanted to send in, what is the process for them to do that, or how can they get a hold of the festival?
Well, we're not a submission base. A lot of
Okay.
festivals are where you put in a fee and you submit your film, and
Right.
We're invitation only, which is very much like the Traverse City Film Festival. A big part of that is that we also have our jobs at the Free Press, and so to be able to watch 100 or 250
course.
submissions just would be like overwhelming. But again, like I said in the beginning, we don't necessarily know everything that's being produced. So people can email us
Okay.
At Freep Film Festival at freepress.com.
Okay.
And send us a link or send us some information. If it's a work in progress, if they want to send us a password protected a link to like a Vimeo page or whatever, we'll look at it. We'll do our best to look at everything, as well as, come out to the film festival. We'll be there. We'll be, engaged and on stage and out in the back, in the crowds and in the back areas. You'll be able to find us, and come and see us that way. And Facebook and Twitter and all those things too.
And then from what we've heard, there may be a few pretty good, announcements coming up soon about some more of the films coming out.
Yep, and I will give one away,
Okay.
but the other ones I'm going to keep under my hat. On Sunday, we're announcing the Free Press's own documentary called Packard: The Last Shift, which is a documentary we've been working on for a number of years about the Packard plant and
Very
kind of
cool.
the history of its evolution, the legal battles, the complete decimation of that space, and the recent purchase of it. So
Okay.
it looks at kind of the last 60 plus years of the Packard and what's happened to
Definitely
it.
a landmark. Anybody that's lived at least on this side of the state knows about it.
Right.
So that's very cool. So, well, there you go.
Yep.
A big announcement right here on the Spotlight.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate it. Once again, Kathy, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, taking time out of your busy schedule to come visit with us, and good luck with everything in the film festival.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And make sure you check out the film festival. It runs March 20th through the 23rd. And for any other information that you might need, make sure you visit the website at freepfilmfestival.com. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you again for being on the show. Stick around. There's more Spotlight coming right up. Becca Friedman gives us the word, plus a musical performance. Don't go anywhere. The Spotlight will be right back.